Hi everyone and welcome back to Crochet Rocks. This is part 3 of my baby blanket crochet along, and part 3 is to do with the joining of the squares. So I've had a little play with them and discovered what one would be better. And at first I tried using this colour pink, and I crocheted them together. Wasn't keen on that. I tried the zip join and I didn't like that either. So then I tried using just the border colour, and that worked out a lot better. So I have two samples to show you. Now this is if I crocheted them together and made the ridge, which does look nice. I don't mind that at all. But when it comes to this design, it's quite fussy as a design, so I prefer to have a nice kind of sewn edge. So I just have decided to go with the whip stitch join, and it's very easy in this particular design because you just have stitch for stitch all the way, and it works out really well, especially in the corners, much better than some work out. So if you haven't already, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll be informed when there are new videos, and part 4, which will be the border. So I'm going to show you how I've done both of these so that you get to choose for yourself. You don't have to follow it exactly the same as I have, but this way is fairly simple. You just use the same colour as your edging yarn around the square, and we just take any two squares, just any two, it doesn't matter, and we will put them back to back so each side is the correct one, and that's how you make sure you get it in the right place. So now we need to look for this corner stitch. Let me zoom in. So I need to insert my hook into this stitch here, and I've gone in between the two top parts of the stitch, and I'm going to do exactly the same with this one in exactly the same middle stitch. Didn't quite catch it there. There we go. So now I'm going to leave a very long tail because we do need to secure it, and I'm going to yarn over and just pull that through. So it is a vulnerable edge at the moment, it's not secured in any way, but we'll sort that out at the end. And then we just go in stitch for stitch, like into that one, and then the corresponding one you can see here, and we just go into there, mind the tail out of the way, and all we do is yarn over and pull it through both the stitches and the one on your hook. And you do exactly the same again, making sure that you've gone through both of those loops. I have to unzoom a little, I think, otherwise it'd be difficult for you to see it. And so just keeping them all the same, we're going to do it into the next stitch. So we go through all those 4, move the tail out of the way. I think it's because I'm hot, it just wants to stick to me, and we just pull it through and pull it through the one on our hook. It's much simpler when you're not doing it in front of a camera. So then we're going into this one, which is the one in between. Well, it's not really the one in between, but it does look that way. So we're going to go into, that's our first one, and whoops, that didn't quite work out, did it? It's always the way when you're on camera. I'll just go back one. The yarn split on that one. But it's quite simple. You just go into both loops of those 2 stitches so you can see that you're going through them. If you can pull it so that you can see them quite clearly if you need to, and just slip stitch again into the next one. You don't have to pull it like this, I'm just showing you, but when you've got them side by side it's quite simple just to go through both like that, and then you get this lovely ridge appearing, and it's a really nice join, and you do that all the way along. But you do need both ends to make sure that you secure. So you just continue like that all the way down, and it makes this ridge. I'll show you on the one that I have finished over here. So what you'll do is you'll match stitch for stitch, and you can see that all of the little ridges line up. So you just go in, and then once you've finished, this is the end that we started with. So I would just work that back, make sure I do it into a knot before I embed it. Go through here, and then I embed it a few times through there. And the same with this side, because this side is even more of a vulnerable end, because, you know, all I'd have to do is pull this and it would undo the whole thing. So I would try and make sure that I pull this end through to the back. It's hard to see because I can't see it too clearly. Where's that? There it is. There we are. So I'd pull that through to that side, and then I would pull this. This is just me personally. I would pull this through. So I would try not to go off. And what I would do here is just I'd get this and I would pull it through like this. So it's not at the back. I was not going to do it, but I would pull it through to the back and hide that, and just sew that in once I'd ended off. But of course I'm not going to be doing this, so I don't want to secure my ends. But if you didn't secure it, this would happen, and then that would be a disaster. So I'm just going to sew mine together, so I didn't really need that. But whip stitching is by far the easiest method to join these, and I like it better. So that is just very, very simple. I'm just going to thread a darning needle. There are lots of joining methods. I have tutorials for them already if you wanted to go and have a look at them. But I've just decided that this one works out far better. So I'm going to go into the same stitch here as I did when I was doing the other join, and I'm going to again leave a very long tail because it needs to be secured and sewn in, but I just kind of hold on to that for now so it doesn't get any bigger, if you know what I mean, any looser should I say. So that's those there, and I just then go in once again just to make sure that that's snug and secure, and then all I'm going to do is whip stitch it down. Well, I don't think it's whip stitch, I think it's called whip stitch, but you keep them identical so that you will keep stitch for stitch either side, so that these will meet up like this. But you just continue down, keep going down. I think I might be in that one already. It's very difficult to see when you've got a camera in between you. So much simpler when you're doing it for real. And then I don't pull it too tight, just not loose either, but not too tight. So just go into the next one, making sure I go through those two loops and just snug it down. Not tight, just right. And then into the next one. And keep going all the way. And that way it keeps, as you can see, it's all nice and secure and in the right place. Whoopsie. Again, went in the wrong one. So that's whip stitching it, and that's all I'm going to do is, and when I'll show you on the one I've finished. When I get to the corner, I make sure I go into the two edges, and then when I'm going into the next one, I can make sure I go into that same edge and when I come down here, the same edge, and it keeps that nice and tight in that corner without a bump or without problems. But it's a nice big square, and I think it looks so much better with the stitching. It just looks a little neater. The slip stitch method does look nice as well, but I just figured that with all the ridges, it was just another ridge. It looked effective, but just for my personal preference with this one being a baby blanket, I just wanted to sew it. But you can choose either way. Either way is perfectly fine. And so it's simple just to keep going. So I'm going to pause the video and I will catch up with you at the bottom and show you what we do when we join another piece. Okay, so I'm almost at the end, so I'm just going to carry on until I get to the bottom. So this is what am I going to say? This is almost done, and sometimes you can carry on using the same needle and wool, yarn, whatever you want to call it, but sometimes it starts to split and twist, so you have to break off and start a new one. So this one seems to be okay at the moment. I'm not sure if it's long enough. I think it is, but as you can see, it's starting to pucker. That's what normally happens, and I end up wanting a fresh one. So just make sure I'm going in the right one. Yes, I am. Now I should meet up exactly the same point here. So there's my corner and there's my corner. So I've gone in the same stitch, and I like to give it just another one in that corner one to keep it snug. So now all I need to do is to turn it and bring in another one. If this had, become just a little bit too fragmented, because it does break apart, then I would just end off with that one, start a new one. So I've gone into the same corner piece, so that one chain there, and I'm going to add it to the same stitch there. And now it's just a simple case of doing exactly the same in all of the corresponding ones, just as you have up there, and just keep going and add more and more. So I'm going to do this one, and then I will definitely need to change my my yarn, because it's well, I don't think I'll have enough anyway to carry on. It's not that long, this piece now, but I don't like having a piece that's too long, because it does always end up going all curly on me for some reason. But that's it, basically. That is just how I normally, sorry about knocking the camera, just how I go about my sewing together. If I had different colours and I wanted to do this like an invisible join, I do have a tutorial for that on my, I think it's Edges and Joins playlist, where I have quite a lot of unusual joins as well. I've got the zip join and a zigzag join, which is quite cool if you want to have a look at that. I have left and right hand tutorials for it as well. So, but that's basically all I'm doing, is making sure that I sew stitch for stitch so that these ridges all kind of meet up and that my corners meet up. And it's so much easier when you lay it out on the table like this. Before, when I was trying to show you, it's not so easy. It is when you've got it in your hands when you're sitting down, but not so much when you're on a table. It's just best to lay it flat and get a good look at it. So that's it. Hope you've enjoyed this and enjoy making the blanket. So I'm going to carry on until I've got all my squares together, and I've got I've got three at the top and 4 down the bottom. So it won't take me very long because these are quite large squares. So once I've done this, I will see you for part 4 to do the border. Okay, thanks very much and see you on the next one.